Hey, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be going into the FURLINGS from STARGATE SG1. But before we begin, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Sith Citadel Discord, links in the description, and consider becoming a join member or sending a super thanks if you wish to further support the channel. Otherwise, let's jump straight into it. The FURLINGS are an ancient and advanced alien race in the Milky Way galaxy, but remain unseen to the rest of the galaxy in the modern era. However, they were once part of the alliance of four great races, along with the Ancients, Asgard, and the Nox. However, occasional artifacts attributed to the FURLINGS have been identified. FURLING writing has also been found on Heliopolis, along with writings of the other great races. Heliopolis was the name given to the planet designated PB2908, though originally designated P3X972 by the Tari, which resides in the Milky Way galaxy and held a Stargate. It once served as a meeting place for the alliance of four great races, before coming into the control of the Goa'uld. After Ra abandoned the planet, it remained largely forgotten before its rediscovery by the Tari. During the time of the alliance of the four great races, Heliopolis was the chosen meeting place between the Ancients, FURLINGS, Nox, and Asgard. It was on this planet that they gathered to share their experiences, debate matters of mutual interest, and resolve any disputes that arose. This alliance stood for a millennia, prospering partly through meeting of the minds of Heliopolis, until one day the Ancients suddenly departed, which symbolized the fragmentation of the Union. While the other species remained friendly towards each other, they no longer met on Heliopolis. Thousands of years after this, the Goa'uld rose to prominence in the Milky Way galaxy, claiming many worlds as their own, and often making extensive use of ancient technology they came across, including the Stargate network itself. One such planet was Heliopolis itself, which the System Lord Ra took to rule over. Despite the fact that he could not entirely decipher all of the information that he found there, and indeed he did not wish to learn the lofty ideals they represented, he refused to give the planet up to another Goa'uld, as he was convinced that the secrets were better left in his hands than those of his enemies. Expanding through the stars, the Goa'uld eventually encountered one of the races who Heliopolis was a base before them, the Asgard. Quickly recognizing the Goa'uld for what they were, the Asgard got in contact with their former allies and suggested that they renew their alliance to combat the Goa'uld. The Nox, being a pacifist species, wanted nothing to do with the alliance, but the FURLINGS agreed on one condition. They demanded that the alliance strike a single decisive blow against the Goa'uld, as they themselves could not survive a protracted war of attrition. While the two species tried to decide the planet to be chosen for this attack, it had to fit several criteria, including that the attack had to demonstrate the alliance's great strength, but could not wipe out an entire species. The Goa'uld continued their expansion and claimed several planets held by their allies, as well as some owned by the Nox. It was because of these attacks that the Nox chose to join their former allies, adding the condition that the planet chosen could not be completely destroyed. During all this time, Ra had transformed Heliopolis into a production and training planet, building weapons and vessels, as well as training the elite Jaffa for his armies. Deciding that the planet met all of their criteria, and that its loss would be a devastating blow to the Goa'uld, the Allies chose Heliopolis as their target. In addition to the fact that Ra would be deprived of a primary planet in his empire, the planet also held a symbolic significance to the Allies, as they would be reclaiming a planet which had once been their own. Dispatching an immense fleet to the planet, the Goa'uld had no chance of stopping the attack. The joint forces of the Allies wiped the Goa'uld forces out to the last man, without suffering any casualties of their own. Once they got to Heliopolis, they unleashed a weapon which had been specifically developed just for this very attack. The weapon wiped out all life on the planet, and destroyed all artificial structures save one, the fortress which had once been a meeting place for the Alliance. They preserved this fortress both out of respect for their early unity, as well as to demonstrate their level of control to the Goa'uld. This attack had the desired effect, and Ra fled for his very life, eventually coming to his homeworld of the Tari, and the remaining System Lords sued the Allies for peace. Their victory was short-lived, however, as the Nox, inspecting the planet to ensure that it would survive their attack for the foreseeable future, discovered that their attack had in fact altered the planet's orbit significantly, and that life could never again prosper in great abundance. The orbit of the planet was slowly decaying, so that one day Heliopolis would be devoured by its own sun. Unfortunately for the Allies, none of them had the technology at that time to rectify their problem, and the only race they knew who did was the Ancients, long since ascended. As such, Heliopolis was largely forgotten, and the crumbling forces was the only remnant that any life had ever been to that planet. It was only in 1945 that life would once again lay foot on Heliopolis, as Professor Paul Langford's team of scientists managed to stumble upon the gate's address for the planet, designating it P3X972. During World War II, the Army was hoping that the Stargate was some sort of weapon. Not sure what was on the other side of the wormhole, the Tari sent Ernest Littlefield through in a full underwater diving suit with an oxygen hose, which linked him to Earth. Immediately after Ernest stepped through, however, the Stargate shut off, which severed the only link between the two planets, as well as the oxygen hose connecting him. As Ernest did not return, Professor Langford feared the worst and told his daughter Catherine he was dead, not knowing that Ernest was in fact very much alive on Heliopolis. The Army shut down the project, not to reactivate research until well after Professor Langford died. Ernest was stranded there for over 50 years, as the DHD had long since been damaged. In a deteriorated castle on the planet, Ernest found several alien writings and a projection device that displayed graphic representations of the basic elements. He soon discovered the truth about the planet, that it had been in fact the meeting place for a United Nations of the stars. He studied the writings and ruins for over 50 years, before Earth once again sent a team through to the planet, this time with full knowledge of what the Stargate was and where it would send them, to find Ernest if he was still alive. In October 1997, SG1, along with Catherine Langford, soon met with Ernest, who was in a state of dementia from spending so long alone in the planet. At first, he refused to believe that they were real, as he had long been hallucinating, but SG1 soon managed to convince him otherwise. However, when the team introduced him to Catherine, who had once been his lover, he scurried from the room to put on his old clothes. Daniel Jackson attempted to engage Ernest to find out what he had learned during his time on the planet, discovering the planet's name and that it was a repository of philosophy and astronomy. Thinking that the remains were of ancient Egyptian origin, Jackson decided that educated people of all kinds must have gathered here, as well as speculating perhaps correctly that it had been a place where people worshipped Ra. Unfortunately, so many years alone had damaged Ernest's psyche, to the point where he believed that he and Catherine had been living in the castle for many years. The sight of the real Catherine had proven too much for him, and so he was unable to confirm or deny any of these claims. It was during this time that Colonel Jack O'Neill discovered the instability of the structure, and discerning that they did not have long, decided to take all those on the planet back to Earth. Daniel tried to convince the group not to leave, as there was the possibility that they may never be able to come back if the castle was destroyed, but was unable to convince Jack, who tried to dial Earth. The argument was soon proven to be a moot point, however, as the group discovered that the DHD was damaged beyond their ability to repair. Captain Samantha Carter immediately set out about trying to find an alternate power source so that they could manually dial the gate, while Daniel spoke with Ernest to learn more about the castle. Ernest took Daniel along with Jack to the main room of the facility, where he unveiled a pedestal in the middle of the room. Unveiling this caused 4 sets of writing to appear on the wall, one for each of the races of the former alliance. O'Neill, investigating the pedestal, activated it accidentally and caused lights to shoot out from it, which formed hundreds of elements in the air. Daniel, having a sudden flash of insight, announced that the elements were in fact the building blocks for a universal language. Ernest then chose to touch the crystal on the pedestal himself, rearranging the lights into a new pattern, which Daniel attempted to record. He was unable to do so, however, as the images did not allow for relative perspective. Meanwhile, Samantha Carter and Teal'c managed to jury-rig the Stargate and DHD together and attempted to dial Earth. Before the Stargate was able to dial, however, the lights dimmed and the experiment failed, causing a piece of the roof to collapse and nearly kill both Samantha and Jack. Deciding that they needed something with more kick, Jack suggested using the Ben Franklin method to power the Stargate through lightning. Recovering Ernest's old diving helmet, Jack and Teal placed it on one of the turrets outside the wrecked structure and wired it into the Stargate. Daniel was not interested in helping the group, however, as he believed that deciphering these symbols, he might be able to discover the meaning of life itself. While he was obsessing over the pedestal, lightning struck the helmet and gave power to the Stargate. Teal quickly dialed Earth manually and got a connecting wormhole. Jack immediately ordered his team through the Stargate to Earth, while he went to get Daniel. Unwilling to listen to his friend, Daniel refused to leave the pedestal. As he was unable to get through to Daniel, Jack physically wrestled his friend from the pedestal, just as a portion of the roof collapsed. The two quickly left for the Stargate, making it through just as the castle collapsed around them, with both Daniel and Jack managing to return to Earth just seconds before the wormhole shut down for good. It had also been suggested that they were a peaceful race. It was discovered that the Furlings had set up a utopian community for themselves and other beings who wished to join them, without weapons or advanced technology. The utopian moon was a planetoid on the receiving end of an advanced transportation device in the Milky Way, which orbited P5X 777. The moon is lush with green plant life, flowers, and pockets of substantial bodies of water, including edible fish and small quadrupeds, suitable for survival. The paradise was designed as a sanctuary of bliss and freedom from the Goa'uld, likely by the Furlings themselves. Unfortunately, a Goa'uld arrived through the arch to the moon, and using the only means left to it, took control of the population by inducing a paranoia-inducing substance into the local plant life. The local utopians consumed the plants and eventually became so paranoid that they destroyed themselves. The remains still encircled their settlement on the moon. The colony was destroyed by a Goa'uld who was able to smuggle in seeds for a plant that produced paranoia-inducing chemical, causing the inhabitants to go insane and kill each other and the Goa'uld responsible. The Furlings appeared to be the mysterious race that helped seed the Madronans on their homeworld, and possibly suggests that the touchstone was Furling technology. While communicating with Carter, the aliens that disabled both the Prometheus and the George Hammond state that the Furlings know of them, and along with the Asgard, Ancients, and Nox, keep them from overstepping. Carter attempts to get the alien she communicates with to confirm or deny if they are the Furlings, but the alien refuses to give an answer either way. So what did you guys think of the Furlings from Stargate? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Sith Citadel Discord, links in the description, and consider becoming a join member or sending a super thanks if you wish to further support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.